Hello and welcome to the Wine Educate podcast. This is episode 86. I am your host, Joanne Close, and it is the third Thursday in November. It is Beaujolais Nouveau Day. Very exciting. So, of course, I coordinated to record the podcast to be released today because all that Beaujolais Nouveau is being released today. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about what Beaujolais Nouveau is, a bit of its history, and how it's made. Next week, we're going to focus on Beaujolais and talk about its appellations in its entirety. So, what is Beaujolais Nouveau? It is a wine made in the region of Beaujolais in France from the grape Gamay, specifically designed for a quick release upon being made in a fresh, fruity style. It is legally released on the third Thursday of November, and pretty strict rules surrounding this. When I worked for Whole Foods back in the day, like a long time ago at this point, one of my first days on the job was around this time of year, and I was tasked with building a monument to Beaujolais Nouveau. It was huge. I joke, but you could live inside of it if you really wanted to, but we weren't allowed to sell a single bottle until this specific Thursday. And indeed, in Paris, there will be a celebration. There will be fireworks. There will be folks in the street drinking Beaujolais Nouveau. It, however, cannot be sold after August 31st, meaning the producers themselves and the negociants, because it's meant to be consumed. You're not to hang on to it. They make it, it's fresh, you enjoy it, then you're done. Indeed, if you are shopping around for your Beaujolais Nouveau and you see any other year besides the current year, don't go for the older vintages. The point is you're to enjoy them when they're young and fresh. Okay, how did this tradition begin? And this is not like a super new thing. This tradition is almost like 80 years old at this point. And it all started, like a lot of things start, with the railroad. When the railroad was introduced all over France and Europe, it really facilitated the trade overall, and certainly the wine trade. It allowed Beaujolais to ship wine to Paris. Those thirsty Parisians always dictating the styles and the trends, and they loved it. They loved this tradition of making this fresh, fruity, easily quaffable wine immediately after harvest, and they embraced it. It became really fashionable in the 1950s. So the UIVB set the official release date in 1951. And then things evolved, and I don't know specifically who is really responsible. I think some of the larger producers are responsible, but the folks in charge of the marketing of Beaujolais Nouveau, well, they're hired because they did a really good job. They actually changed the release date in 1985. They moved it a little bit to make it this third Thursday of November, specifically to align it with American Thanksgiving and market it as going really well with all of the turkey and the ham and all the things that we end up eating on Thanksgiving. And it gave Beaujolais Nouveau a big boost and became a party, right? A global celebrated wine. For copyright reasons, I can't include all the really super fun slides, but Google Beaujolais Nouveau and you will see showgirls and feathers and parties. It really is a lot of fun. So it got super popular, but then the pendulum swang in the opposite direction and the popularity began to fall. So it peaked in 99 and then started to go down a bit. It's been in decline. Everyone has some strong feelings about Beaujolais Nouveau. Perhaps they got inundated with it. Maybe it was a bit too much and decided that they didn't like it anymore. That's fair. But because of this sort of pushback on Beaujolais Nouveau, the rest of Beaujolais said, "We making some really great wines here besides the Nouveau. Come check out what we're doing." And there was a resurgence in those styles of wines, which we're going to talk about next week. Today, the Beaujolais Nouveau represents about 20% of all wines that are made in Beaujolais. Some production rules here. Nouveau does not have its own separate appellation. It's included under the Beaujolais or Beaujolais Village appellations, so they must follow those AOC rules regarding yields, alcohol levels, and blending. One of the rules is that you have to harvest by hand, but that is out of necessity for the style of wine that they're making using carbonic maceration. So what is carbonic maceration? You are harvesting whole bunches. Because you are not crushing the grapes. You need these whole grapes. You are then putting these whole bunches into a tank and adding CO2 to remove the oxygen and essentially creating an anaerobic environment, right? No oxygen. In this environment, you get this intracellular fermentation that happens in the grapes. They start to ferment without any oxygen. And they get up to about 2%, and then the berries naturally split. The weight of the berries in the tank themselves are crushing the grapes on the bottom, so those are starting to split already. When they get to about 2%, they will then crush, drain the juice, and continue to ferment them with regular fermentation techniques. What kind of wine does this produce? A very specific style. And it's important to note that it's not just Beaujolais that makes wines using carbonic maceration. Other wine regions do as well. And it will produce this similar, pretty identifiable style. A soft, fruity wine, low in tannin. Now, Gamay is a grape that's low in tannin to begin with, so it's even more well-suited to this style. And it creates this like vivid color. It's really pretty, bright color in the glass. It is highly aromatic with very distinct flavors of kirsch, banana. Yes, I did say banana, bubblegum, and like a cinnamon-like spice. This wine is the very definition of a chillable wine. I just taught a level 1 class in Florida. Oh, what day is it? It was 2 days ago. And we talk about red wines, if they're room temperature or lightly chilled. Beaujolais and Beaujolais Nouveau fall under this lightly chilled category. There are some variations on carbonic maceration, semi-carbonic maceration, and whole bunch fermentations. I'm saving that for my level 3 podcast, which will be released in the new year. Okay, this is a pretty exciting concept for me. The fact that you, my lovely listener, are listening in many different places, but you all are getting a little bit of this Beaujolais Nouveau. We're all getting it at the same time on the same day. So you can go out and get yourself a bottle. And I will say there's this lovely trend of smaller producers making Beaujolais Nouveau as well. We have quite a few coming in this week, which is really exciting. And I want to see what you're drinking. I want to see where these Nouveaux are ending up, what you have available in your market. So get your Nouveau, take a photo of it and or you and the bottle, even better. And you can email it to me if you want, joanne@wineeducate.com, or you can tag me on the old Instagram, which is wineeducate. So it will be so fun. And then a bunch of you will be drinking the same bottles. Maybe next year I'll get my act together and we'll do a mass tasting. Next week, we will talk about Beaujolais as a whole and the different appellations. I hope you all have a lovely weekend and enjoy your Beaujolais Nouveau.